of joining the FSB. So please go to fsb.org.uk to book a meeting with a membership advisor. Now to introduce you to our speakers. Our first speaker is Mary Enelou. Mary is the founder and CEO of Can Do Academy, a company committed to helping businesses build high-performing teams and cultivating healthy, productive growth cultures where people can really thrive. Mary provides programs in personal and leadership development, team building, diversity, and inclusion and communication. Mary will present on how to attract and retain great talent. Our second speaker is Rob Griffiths. Rob is director of Blue Orchid Recruitment Limited. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, Rob created Blue Orchid Recruitment so he could continue to assist businesses and job seekers with their needs. Rob has vast experience in customer service, management, and sales, and prides himself on his proactive, personable, and empathetic approach. Rob will present on how to run a successful recruitment campaign for businesses looking to expand. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you very much, Tim. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. And I am extremely excited that the FSB have put this webinar together because it's really pertinent in the current climate. I mean, following COVID, we are in an employee market, I suppose you could say, and it's probably going to be like that for a while yet. So I'm really pleased that we're here today looking at something that's very vital to all of our businesses. But why are we here? How did we get here? These three phrases, I think, have become very common. It's something we're all very familiar with: the Great Resignation, quiet quitting. The Great Resignation, basically after COVID, lots of people just basically decided they had had enough of what they were doing and wanted to go do something else or do nothing. Quiet quitting is slightly different. Quiet quitting is about people who stay in the business, stay in the organization, but essentially have quit, even though they're still there. So they're not giving their all, they're just doing the bare minimum. And burnout, where people really genuinely are just burnt out, either emotionally or physically or both. So all of this has really impacted the labor market. And so it's become more imperative for business owners that want to succeed, to really succeed in HR, to know how to become that employer of choice, because we're all, going to the same pool to recruit and trying to retain staff to get our businesses to function effectively. So I think now more than ever before, it's so important for employers to think about how they can be that employer of choice that people want to work with. So we always say to our clients, if you're going to succeed in business, you have to take this quote into account by Jim Collins. He says, those who succeed in business basically understand that the real throttle on growth for any great company is not markets or technology or competition or products. It's the one thing above all others, the ability to get and keep enough of the right people. Do you agree? If you agree, just put agree in the chat, not in the Q&A section, in the chat. If you disagree, put disagree in the chat. Let's know what you think. So that's by the author of Good to Great, Jim Collins. And basically what he's saying is, it's fantastic to have systems and sophisticated technology and complicated marketing plans and all the rest of it, and policies and programs, which are all important, but the ultimate throttle on growth for any great company are its people. And we say that all the time, people are our greatest assets. But I think now more than ever before, business owners and companies have to really implement that and really act like the people are the greatest asset, because they really, really are. So we encourage our clients, if you're going to succeed in business, there are 4 areas that you have to succeed in: staff recruitment, staff placement, staff development, and staff retention. And today we want to focus on staff recruitment and staff retention. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Rob Griffiths, the director of Blue Orchid Recruitment, to give us some tips on how we can create recruitment campaigns that actually are productive and successful. So over to you, Rob.
Thank you very much, Mary. So as Mary mentioned, we're going to look at a few different areas. So I'm going to home in on 4 different areas and briefly give you some insight on my 15 years of recruitment experience has shown me and what I can provide to my clients. So the number one thing we have to do in business is obviously plan. Before you actually implement and put things into process, it's so important to plan. We'll also be having a look at how you can stand out and be the one people want to join. Obviously, as a small business, it can be very challenging to find your voice against your competitors. Communicate effectively, and again, it's so important to do that in everything that we do, not just in business but in life. But when it comes to recruitment, it really is very important. And then looking at future planning and how that can play a part in the recruitment process. And obviously, when we come to future planning, Mary will take over and elaborate further on things from there. So when we come to look at planning, first off, you obviously need to understand what you need from a job. So thinking about the job description and the personal specification. And as a small business owner, it's very easy to get into that mindset of thinking, right, I'm really busy in admin and I need all the bells and whistles. And because small businesses overlap in terms of being able to have those resources available. Sometimes if you've got quite a small team, people will have multiple things that they do rather than larger companies where you have a specific job description. So we come across it all the time where I speak to a client and they're looking for somebody with a multitude of different skills and attributes. They call it an office manager role, and then we look at the budget and it's 20k for literally somebody to do everything. So if you're in that position where you're thinking, right, I need this person, I need to recruit, let's say, an office manager role, but you're realizing that actually what you're able to pay isn't in line with the market, the going rate against your competitors and the general market. It's really important to either work with a recruiter or a HR consultant if you're struggling on this, to be able to define your job description and personal specification a lot more closely, so you can actually market yourself in a better way to be able to bring those people in. So it could be that you delegate certain tasks and responsibilities to other people in the team, reducing the amount of things that you're expecting your new recruit to come into, and then in turn reducing or changing the job title to, say, an office administrator, so it can actually attract the wage that you're offering. Little tweaks like that can go a long way to actually change the dynamic of how you recruit. Looking at timeframes, it's really making sure that, like with any project, it's making sure that you stick to timeframes so you don't go off the path and then things start to take longer and longer. It builds the stress, and then it starts to eat into your time and the money that you're spending on doing that. So it's really important to get those in place before you actually start to recruit, so you know exactly when you want to start to recruit and when you want to onboard and everything in between. So thinking of your availability to do interviews, you're putting some time aside to look at CVs, and then to effectively bring those people in. Delegating to a team manager or another team member. We're all guilty as managing directors and business owners to effectively think, right, I need to take this on myself. And then you've got a million of other things to do on your to-do list. And it can be so empowering to be able to delegate to a team member to effectively allow them to take that power away from you to be able to expand and utilize skills that they may not have been able to use previously. Now, when you delegate, you're allowing that person the opportunity to bring in team members directly, so they're having more opportunity to do that. Obviously, you know, CC yourself into CVs and emails and things, but you'll find that it not only empowers them, but it frees up a lot of your time as well, so you can concentrate on doing your core tasks in your business. And then looking at budget. So obviously the big budget would be what you can pay that person. So looking at what the market rates are doing, again, coming back to the job description, if it's not quite fitting and you know that it's not going to quite work, working with a recruiter or HR consultant to be able to identify that as well. But also budgets include looking at how long and how much resource you need to give to this. So thinking about that and how much that's going to eat into your business, looking at the budgets of working with outsourcers like recruiters and HR, so taking all that into account as well, and also thinking about what it's going to cost in the long term and the setup costs. So looking at a new computer, a new phone system, a new workstation, and then everything else going forward as well. So there's a lot to consider, but it's very common for people just to think about the salary and everything else. It can creep up and think, actually, this is costing me a lot more time and a lot more going forward. So make sure it's going to be a sustainable move for you before you actually start recruiting. And then thinking about training, induction and mentorship, and I can't stress this enough, this is a major one, is making sure that your training plan is in place and ready to go before you bring on a new person. That training that you had you might not have recruited for a few years previous, so it's really important to make sure your training plan is up to date. Make sure your induction and all your SOPs, your standard operator protocols, make sure they're all good to go as well. And make sure, or if you can, make sure that you've got somebody who can mentor somebody who comes in. There's nothing worse than bringing on a new recruit, giving them a computer and saying, crack on then, and I'll be over there to help. We find that market data shows that if you don't have the correct training, induction, mentorship, no matter how good that candidate is who comes in, they're more likely to leave within 3 months than somebody who is inducted and looked after within that time. So a mentor could be there to take them to the canteen, tell them where the best sandwich shop is, show them the systems, introduce them to other team members, and talk about the quirks of what the company, the clients, and everything around them can offer. Induction obviously is making sure that they know the systems, processes, and everything else in place as well. And obviously, if things like this are quite a lot to take on, because it's again looking at manuals and things, then outsourcing can help with those as well, or again delegated to somebody who can put that together. And policies, it goes without saying, but again, sometimes these are overlooked because they haven't been updated for a few years. Making sure that all your policies are up to date before you think about bringing somebody on. So if it's a remote job, you need to think about lone working policies, and just think about everything to make sure it's in line with where your business is currently, so you don't have to think about it at a later stage. So the big one is where the challenges be the workplace everyone wants to be at. And this is a real challenge, particularly for SMEs, where you might be working in a smaller town just outside a big city, and you tend to find that really good candidates are happy to travel to the big cities to work for the bigger players. So you're constantly thinking, how can I really put myself out there to be the place that people really want to work for? So the first one is, as I mentioned on the first slide, is looking at whether you're offering the right salary. And, you know, one of the big bugbears of a small business is, you know, we don't have a pot of money which is endless, whereas larger companies, they tend to have more budget to be able to do that. So as I mentioned, is you know, looking at what you require from your recruit, and how you can amalgamate that to ensure that it's fitting with the salary that you can offer. So it could be that you do cut down on all of the skills and attributes that you're looking for to make it fit and more reasonable for people wanting to apply. What are your competitors doing? So do look at what they're doing in terms of how they're recruiting, how their branding is coming across to be able to bring that in. And that could all be to do with how the adverts are working, how their branding is coming across in social media, on their website. And it's really important to get all of this lined up so you're giving the same message. Now, obviously, I'm not a marketer, but it all feeds in exactly the same from a marketing perspective. When candidates are looking to join a business, they are looking at consistent marketing. They're looking at how that business presents itself. And it's really important not only to attract clients, but think about it of how you attract candidates and people who want to work for you as well. Look at what benefits you're offering. So gone are the days where, you know, being able to provide a ping pong table and bean bags and things, you know, where people want to go. People are looking for something more tangible, where, you know, the pandemic is actually shaking up things, where people are looking for things like health benefits, a good pension scheme. It doesn't have to cost the earth. You can work with companies who can bring this as a benefit, where there is actually tax incentives to be able to reduce your corporation tax to do that. So look at what those benefits are that you're currently offering, and how you could potentially increase on those. A good thing to do would actually be to have a conversation with your existing staff to see what they would want and what would benefit them. So it could be childcare vouchers or discounted gym membership. So thinking about what works for your current business and what you feel would work for people who you want to attract to work for your business. Now, making sure your advert pops is really, really important. So a lot of people make the mistake of just uploading the job description, and you might have a 4, 6, 8-page job description. And if you upload that onto a job site, effectively, you're going to run into trouble. People are very fast-paced in terms of everything that we do these days. So when people are looking for jobs, they could be multitasking. It could be that they're on the train and they're scrolling through, and they want to see something concise, something which catches their eye, gives them the basic information, but really attracts them in. So when you're thinking about an advert, it's taking all the pertinent points of your job description, bringing that out onto the page. So it's a 1-page, you know, small document to effectively say, this is what we're offering, this is why we're offering it. So really shout about your business in that respect. This is what we expect you to do. So a few bullet points of the main tasks and responsibilities. This is what we require from you. So it could be that a particular skill, attribute, qualification is required, and then this is what we can offer you in return. And that's where you can really go to town on the benefits and the culture and the salary, etc. So it's really important to condense your job description down and make sure it really comes out in the advert. A big one as well is people are really looking at, does this company, does it align with what my ethics and morals sit? So people are really wanting to see whether you're a sustainable business, whether you're doing the right thing when it comes to providing a service that people are actually is beneficial to the community and to society. And make sure that your mission statement and your ethics are aligned with how your business is projecting itself and what it does. So and it's really important, I know I've mentioned this on here, but to be authentic. So don't just put something out there because you think people are going to buy into it. It needs to be really matching up with exactly what you want. And sometimes your mission statement will change as your business evolves and changes, and how you adapt. Everybody changes over time. So just make sure that all your media content, all your branding and everything on your website, social media, matches where you are as a business at the moment before you actually start recruiting, because you want to be able to use that as a marketing tool. And if you are involved in things like community, charity, environmental initiatives and events, then shout about that as well and make people aware that, you know, you are wanting to give back, and the existing team that you're involved with are doing that as well, and how they can get involved. So people who are thinking, right, I'd love to work for that company because they're involved in a charity event that is quite close to my heart, or I can see that they have a nice balance of what they do. And then be inclusive and embrace diversity. And one of the big things is, sadly, everybody sometimes has unconscious bias, which they don't intend to have. But when you've got a business, you think, right, this is how my business started, and this is the type of people who have been in my business, and I think that's what I need to have to continue the success of the business. And that's not always the case. It's people can get stuck in that rut and think very narrowly when they think of recruiting. So when you do come to recruit, it's really important to think, right, I'm going to think outside the box and think about people or experiences that I might not have thought about before, because it opens up such a big talent pool of talent to be able to look at. Obviously there's a big drive at the moment to bring people on who are over 50, who are coming back into the workplace, people from overseas. If you are in a position where you can sponsor people to come in from overseas, there's a massive talent pool there to get involved with as well. So it would be a great exercise to look at how you can think outside the box to attract more people, and interview those people and give those people a chance to show what they're really made of. And the number one thing in terms of everything that we've discussed on this is be authentic. It's all well in me saying do a charity event, do a community event, environmental, and you could be that person going, oh, here he goes again, that sort of woke society thing. But it's about being authentic. So do things that actually sit well with you and your business, and there's always something there for everybody to be involved in and be attracted to get involved in as well. Now, communication is key, and it really is with everything. But when it comes to recruiting, you've probably, if you've experienced working with recruiters yourself, or you've heard all the recruitment bashing on LinkedIn, one of the big things people really dislike about recruiters, not all, I say do give recruiters a chance, because it really is about communicating effectively. Make sure that you are actually providing responses to applicants. So when you get applicants come through, speed is key. And I don't mean, just recruit willy-nilly, because obviously you're setting yourself up to fail there. But having an efficient process where you can respond really effectively is really important. So always respond to every applicant, even if they're not successful, and set up a automatic email that can be sent out, so you don't have to type it all the same again, but have that courtesy to respond, because that will go a long way to people, particularly people who are applying for a lot of roles. It just makes them realise that they are being listened to. Make contact with suitable candidates quickly, so you can grab those before they go to one of your competitors, and make sure that you have that efficient process with them to get them in for an interview and provide that streamlined recruitment process. So interview them as quickly as you can, and then make decisive decisions. So, again, as a small business, it's really common for businesses to interview 10 people, say, oh, 3 of those people are absolutely brilliant, but I'm going to wait a few weeks and just see if anything else comes through. And you'll be very disappointed, because effectively you're reducing that time, and those people will effectively go to your competitors, and then you're going to have to start the process again, which will be time consuming. It's going to eat into the budget and everything else that we've discussed. So be decisive, work with your partners in business, work with people who you rely on as outsources to provide that feedback as well, and support, and provide feedback in a timely manner to everybody, not only the people that you've interviewed, but like I said, to all applicants, to ensure that you're retaining your reputation and just being that decent human being, really. And it's really important, once you've made that decision on who you want to bring into your business, do your due diligence. So do make sure that you get a couple of references, make sure that you've done your right to work checks, make sure you've done all your HR compliance, to ensure that you're not only legally compliant, but you've got that peace of mind that whoever you bring into your business is who they say they are, and they can do what they they say they've done, and don't just rely on a good interview. So make sure everything is tied up, and you're going to be in a very strong position. And finally, before I hand back to Mary, is just, this feeds in well to what Mary said. When you're thinking of recruiting, it's not only important to think of the here and now, but it's important to look at where your business is going to be in 5-10 years time, how you see that growth, whoever you're bringing into the business, how you see them as part of the wider business. 9 out of 10 people, when they come to an interview, will ask, where do you see your business? They may even say, where do you see yourself in the business? And they'll want to know that when they come into your business, there's going to be that long-term opportunity for them to grow with it. So it's really important to just be mindful and have that information to hand for when you come to interview, so you can really show passion and get them involved in the interview process by saying, yes, this is a role we've got for you now, but this is where we see our trajectory and we want you to be a part of it. And you'll see some very excited faces to be able to then bring those people in and retain them going forward. I hope that has been very helpful. I'm more than happy to have, I know that was a whistle-stop tour, but I'm more than happy to have a further chat outside of this forum. I can be reached on LinkedIn, or my contact details there. I'm more than happy to provide any further support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rob. A lot to take in. Can everybody see my screen? Yes? A lot to take in there, a lot of work to be done when you're thinking about getting staff in, and a lot of effort goes into that process. So it becomes extremely important then to not just stop there. I think I'm sharing the wrong thing, not just stop there, but to make sure after you've done all that Rob just talked about, to actually set yourself up to succeed in actually retaining the client. Yeah, that's better. In actually retaining the staff. So, and that's what I'm going to talk about for the next few minutes. I love this quote by Howard Schultz. It says, we're not in the coffee business serving people, but in the people business serving coffee. And obviously he's talking about his own business, Starbucks. But just think, if every business owner was to take this attitude, irrespective of the sector, whether you are in construction or law or accounting, to think, we're first in the people business before the law business. We're first in the people business before accounting, because at the end of the day, everything we do is about people. And that's really why I'm passionate about what we do. It's all about people. If we really imbibe this ethos and let it influence the policies we make, the way we run our business, I think it will make a huge, huge, huge difference. We're first in the people business, and that could be staff, that could be clients, that could be suppliers, but we're all first in the people business. Just want to throw some statistics out there. I mean, staff engagement is something that we talk about a lot. It's been around for a while. Everybody knows the importance of staff engagement. And here are some figures that I would really like you to just bear in mind. So the first one is from a research by Gallup, and it says companies with high engagement are 22% more productive. So they end up with 22% higher productivity. Productivity is something that every business owner is concerned about. We all want our businesses to be productive, but companies with high engagement have 22% higher productivity. Engaged employees are 38% more likely to have above average productivity. That is research by the Workplace Research Foundation. 38% more likely to have above average productivity. And increasing employee engagement investments by just 10%, Talent Culture tells us, increases profit by $2,400 per employee. I think that should get us to begin to think differently about how we see the budget for staff development, or the budget that we use to invest in our staff, and see it really as an investment, not a liability, not a cost in a sense. Well, that's really, really interesting. I wanted to share that with us. Some others here, Harvard, it says organizations with engaged employees have double rate of success. Organizations with highly engaged employees have 48% fewer safety incidents. And Forbes tells us engaged employees are more likely to be motivated and committed to their employer. So you can very easily see that when we start to talk about staff retention, when we've taken the time and the effort and the finances to get staff into our business, we don't want to leave the front door open and the back door open. We want to shut that back door and make sure once we get them in, especially good talent, especially great staff, we want to keep them. And what this research or this various research is telling us is that when you can succeed in getting your staff engaged, you stand a better chance of not only getting more from them, but you stand a better chance of actually retaining them. That last data there by Forbes, it says engaged employees are more likely to be more motivated and more committed to their employer. And that should come as no surprise. If you think about it, you know, when we talked about quiet quitting earlier on, the reason why someone would quiet quit, meaning they're still in the business, but they're not really there, is because they're not engaged. They don't feel any sort of commitment or any sort of loyalty to the business. They're just doing the barest minimum. And so at the earliest opportunity for them to physically quit, they do. And very often businesses lose the good employees because they're the ones that have options. Those with few options will remain and they just do the bare minimum and we just keep paying them. So bearing this in mind, we need to, if the company is going to succeed, really have to take staff engagement seriously. Really, really do. So what I want to do is I want to share just some, I think maybe about 6 points, practical things that we can do to help us really keep staff engaged. This is a quote by, not a quote, a definition by Gallup, right, about staff engagement. It says staff engagement is the involvement and enthusiasm of employees in both their work and workplace. So it's enthusiasm, it's involvement in both their work. So whatever their job is that they do in the business, but also in the workplace as a whole. So it's not just about me being involved and enthusiastic about what I do. It's about how I engage with my colleagues. It's about how I engage with my manager. It's about how I engage with the whole company. That is what employee engagement is about. And that's what we want to try and achieve if we're going to retain our staff. So the first thing I want to say is clearly define your purpose, your vision, and your values. Very often as companies, we pay a lot of attention to what we do and how we do it, but very little focus goes into defining the why. Why do we exist as a company? Why does it matter? Why do we matter as a company? Right? So the purpose is extremely important, and not just for the business owner, but it's important that your staff know the why of the business. Why do we matter? Especially now, not just because of COVID, but more with the younger generation. They want something to buy into. They want a course to buy into. So why do we matter? That's extremely important. But the vision as well is important. Where are we going? Where are we going? If nobody knows where you're going, then why are we following you? It just helps to keep people motivated when they know why we're doing what we're doing, why it matters to the world, and where we're going as a company. But values are also extremely important. Values is the things that drive us. Values are things that are important to us. If you think about your values, those are the things that determine why you do what you do. It's no different to a company, but it's shocking that a lot of business owners don't have clearly written down values. So it's important that we know our purpose, our vision, our values. Rob mentioned about the mission statement. Right now, I would like to launch a poll, and I'm going to ask Catherine to help us. It's absolutely anonymous, so you can be completely honest. There are 2 questions to the poll. So if you could just cast your vote. So the first one is, does your business have a clearly written mission statement? And it's a simple yes or no. Clearly written mission statement. And the second question is, does your business have clear written values that it operates by? So you only get one choice, only one choice. And I encourage you to cast your vote. Like I said, it's completely anonymous, so you can be completely honest. Just want to see where those of us on the call today are. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that, because I think it's extremely, extremely important. And values, Rob was saying as well with values, it's not just about saying, oh, this is a value for me because it sounds good, or this is a value for me because I saw it on another company's website. It has to be authentic. It has to be something you really believe in. Otherwise, it will just be in the mission, or rather in the manual, in the office manual. Even the managing director does not know what the values are, talk less of the members of staff. And if it's not written on their hearts, then it doesn't translate to behavior. We want a mission statement and values that influences our behavior, that touches on our attitude. Because one person can go to the office manual, tick all the boxes, and do it with an attitude of, I'm standing, I'm standing on the inside and sitting on the outside. I'll tell you that joke in a minute once we get the results for the poll. Or somebody else ticks the boxes from the office manual, but does it with the right attitude because they truly buy into the values of the business. So have we all cast our votes? Can we share the results? I can't see, so fantastic. Well, I'm pleasantly surprised. So more people than I thought actually have a clearly written mission statement. 58% of you have a clearly written down mission statement, and 42% have clearly written values. Not bad, but obviously we could do better, because with values, for instance, less than 50% of the people on the call have clearly written values. But they're extremely important because, like I said, if you think about it, values drive our behavior. They determine the things we do. So that is one thing that you're going to need to work out, and get your people involved. Don't just make the decision and say, and come out with a mission statement and say, this is our mission statement, or these are our core values. Yes, you're not going to be able to take into account what is important to everybody, but by getting everyone involved, you get them enthused about the whole process, and they may come up with some really important ones, but it just gives you an idea where your people are, what's important to them, what matters to them, and it gives them a sense of belonging, a sense of, I'm a part of this. So get them involved when you're crafting your mission statement, or redefining your mission statement, or creating your values. Get your people involved. The next thing I would say is know what you're for. So this is something we encourage our clients to do. And we say, know what you're for in 3 areas: to your customers, to the community, to your staff. Very many businesses know what they want to be known for to their customers. We want to be known as a business that is great for customer service, fantastic on our products, etc. So they know what they want to be known for to their customers, but very few business owners or businesses actually give thought to, what do we want to be known for to the community? Again, Rob touched on that briefly. We live in a world where people want to do business and want to spend their hard-earned cash with companies that are more than just about the profit. Similarly, people want to work for organizations and businesses that are for more than just the profit. So what do you want to be known for to your community? This is something we help our clients clearly define and really get clear on, because it's absolutely important when it comes to retaining staff. These are the things that matter to people. And thirdly, what do you want to be known for to your staff? When your staff members are in the pub on a Friday night, what do you want them to be saying about your company? What do you want to be known for to your staff? And these things don't just happen. Nothing just happens. You have to be really intentional and really deliberate in designing the answers to these questions. Because if you're not intentional in deciding what you want your staff to be known for, you will unintentionally become the company that is what they don't want to be, you don't want to be known for. So it has to be really intentional. But also we encourage leaders to think about, what do I as a leader want to be known for? I love this quote by Winston Churchill. I'm not going to read it because of time. But basically, Winston Churchill is talking about a defining moment. He's saying for every leader, for every person, there comes a time that could be a defining moment for you. And COVID was a big opportunity as a defining moment for our leaders, the leaders we had when we had COVID. So with every leader, you have the opportunity to have a defining moment, that time, and usually it's in a time of crisis, where he says, you're tapped on the shoulder and offered a chance to do something really special and unique to you. So one thing we encourage business owners to think about as well is, what do I want to be known as, or what do I want to be known for as a leader? Do I want to be known as a courageous leader? Do I want to be known as a leader who cares? Do I want to be known as a leader who takes people along? Or do I want to be known as a dictator or the leader who nobody trusts, right? We all have that opportunity every day as we run our businesses to define our leadership. And that's something I would encourage everybody to really think about. What do you want to be known for as a business leader? Number two, engage your employees in their areas of strength. Again, I'm going to give you some statistics. So this is a research done by Gallup, and it tells us that when employees are engaged in their area of strength, they're 6 times more likely to be engaged at work. They're 8% more productive. Think about that. If you ask a business owner, would you like your employees to increase their productivity by 8%? The answer would be absolutely yes. But just engaging your employees in their areas of strength, you actually empower them to increase productivity by 8%. They're 15% less likely to quit their jobs. We're talking about staff retention. Making sure they're using their strengths at work makes them 15% less likely to quit their jobs and 3 times more likely to report an excellent quality of life. I mean, every responsible business now, we know that we're not just talking about productivity. We want to be concerned about our staff well-being is the right thing to do. It's the business sense thing to do as well, because the more healthy, physically, mentally your staff are, the better they will perform. And those who engage in their jobs with their strength are 3 times more likely to report having an excellent quality of life. And it should come as no surprise, because if you think about it, when you're doing something that you just feel naturally inclined to do, you just feel like I was born to do this, right? I was born to do this. For me, for instance, even when I'm tired or I'm really not well and I get the opportunity to do what I'm doing right now, I come alive, because I feel like I was born to do this. I'm using my strengths. So if you can identify the strengths of your employees and make sure they're using them at work, they don't feel drained, they don't feel like they're struggling, things just come more naturally to them. And the good thing is there are tools that you can use to help you identify the unique strengths of your employees. There's several tools, psychometric tools that you can use. Gallup's, for example, have their strength finders. There's Myers-Briggs. We use DISC with our clients because DISC gives you loads of insight about the individual. Some people are great at detailing, so what that means is they are good at getting into the detail of what needs to be done. So you have a plan. These guys they're just great at creating systems, right? So you tell them what you want to achieve. Those who have strengths in detailing are just fantastic at creating systems. Others are great at persisting. When everybody has given up, they just have a natural ability to stick with a problem until they see it through. Others are fantastic with relating, right? Others are fantastic with directing. They're very task-oriented, very results-driven. They just want to find a way to reach the answer, right? They might step on the toes of those who are more conscious about relating, but it's a question of understanding where the strengths for your employees are, so you can engage them in their areas of strength. What we find with clients is when you don't know the different strengths in your workforce, you start to see differences as a problem rather than a strength. And differences, they can be complementary, and they can actually be something that is beneficial to the business, not a problem. If you as a business owner, you're more of a directing kind of person, you just like to cut to the chase and you want to get things done. And then you have other people who seem to faff about. Some people will use that language. They just never, they're just never really serious. They just always want to have a joke. They might wind you up the wrong way. But when you realize that relating is actually a strength, and there's certain areas that those people will be great at, then you can play on the different strengths in your workforce. You can play on each individual strength and reap these benefits that we can see on the screen. So engaging people in the area of strength, can't even overemphasize that enough. Number 3, invest in developing your employees. Rob talked about training, right? And that's extremely important, because if you don't train your team, then you have no justification for expecting excellence from them. What we find is while employers are very eager and very quick to train on technical skills, they're less eager to train on what people call soft skills. And I say soft skills in quote. So as a solicitor, you see the need to send your solicitors to brush up on the law and get CPD training and all of that, but maybe not so much on things like communication training. But this is an interesting statistic from Harvard University and the Carnegie Foundation and Stanford Research Center. They found that 85% of career success comes from having well-defined soft skills. And when you come to think about it, it shouldn't come as a surprise, because what is it that really sets us apart? It's not necessarily our qualification. It's not necessarily our experience. It's our attitude more than anything that sets us apart. I mean, they say attitude is a small thing that makes a big difference, and it's true. I might be the best accountant in the world, but if I have poor interpersonal skills, I'm not going to fit in the team. I'm actually going to be more of a problem than a solution. So develop your team, not just in their technical skills, but their soft skills, how to be a team player, how to communicate. They say when most people leave, we're talking about staff retention, when most people leave a company, they leave because of their direct line manager. And it's often because of the way they're communicated with, or the way they're spoken to, or they just don't get along with the manager, and it's just causing all sorts of problems. So training your team on those softer skills is crucial. It's not a luxury, it's actually a necessity if you're going to retain your staff. Because what makes the business function is that glue that gets the employees working well together, right? Creating that cohesive team. That does not come from just the individual qualifications that team members have. That comes from other things that are underlying, which we call soft skills. Just moving on quickly, I'll say cultivate a coaching culture. I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but as a leader, if you're not coaching, it's going to be very difficult to lead. It means you're giving instructions all the time, you're dictating all the time. Coaching is being able to ask people questions and help them come up with solutions themselves. So creating or cultivating a coaching culture where your people can be empowered to be creative in problem solving will help them, again, feel like they're a part of what is going on here. That is what we're trying to achieve. We want our people, we want to tap into that discretionary goodwill of our employees. We don't just want to tap into their contractual obligation, right? That's where quiet quitting comes in. Those who have quiet quit, they're very good at just maintaining the contractual obligation, but you want more than that. You want that discretionary goodwill where they're happy to stay a little bit later after work to get something done, where they bring their creativity, where they bring their persistence, where they bring their enthusiasm. All those things you can't really put in a job description or contract. You have to be enthusiastic. You can't do that. But by doing some of these things we're talking about, you can begin to cultivate that sort of culture in your business. Number 5, I think, encourage and empower open communication. Again, because of time, I'm not going to dwell too much on this. Rob touched on it, but what we're talking about is culture, really. We're talking about the kind of culture you want to create for your business that is going to make your team members stay. I love to say you don't have to be Google to be able to retain great staff. There are other ways that you can do it, and that's some of what I'm sharing with us. But being able to create that open communication, operating that open door policy between managers and team members, within from the CEO to their senior managers, just people feeling. I'll give you an example. I have a client who was working with a large insurance company, and local to him, he lives in Maidstone, and the company was based in Folkestone. But beyond that, he worked from home most days. He only needed to go into the office once or twice a week. But the culture was so toxic. His manager was never appreciative of anything he did. He always just felt like nothing he did was ever right. He could never do anything well. And in the end, he just couldn't take it anymore, and he left. And now he works with, this was an insurance company, a global insurance company. Now he works with an oil and gas company in London. He has to commute from Maidstone to London 4 days a week. He only works from home 1 day a week on a Friday. But he is happier, He is more productive. Why? The people. He keeps saying, my manager is just such a nice person. Sometimes, listen, sometimes I would call him on a Saturday because he's an IT consultant. If they have issues, they would call him on a Saturday to quickly get online to solve a problem. Even though he kind of goes, oh, but it's my time off, etc. But he does it, and he does it willingly. Why? Because that company has been able to create a culture where people feel valued, where people feel like I'm a part of this. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, we run a podcast. We run a podcast called the Life and Leadership Podcast. And during one of the episodes, I was having a conversation with a gentleman. He's the CIO of a company based in South Africa. And he was talking about a time when he worked with Virgin. He worked with Virgin and worked directly with Richard Branson. And he was describing a similar culture where the demand on your time was great. The demand on your efforts was great. He said, but people loved doing it. People did it happily. And he was talking about the way they were able to create that culture. In the end, I'm going to put a link to the podcast so you can listen to it. So open communication rather than top-down kind of dictatorship really, really is powerful. Know your employees as individuals. Know your employees as individuals. Do you know their values? Do you know what motivates them? How can I motivate my staff is one of the things that people often ask us. Again, psychometric tools like DISC will take the guesswork out and help you understand what motivates your team. Some people get motivated by public recognition, others get motivated by recognition of work well done, others get motivated by authority to see a task through from start to finish. So when you understand what motivates your team, you can motivate them by what motivates them. Trying to motivate everybody in the same way just is not going to work because we're all individuals. Do you know the values they have? Because we do the things we do because of the values we have. So if you know the values of your team members, you can see how they align with company values, and then you can see how you can really get them to buy into what you're doing. But it helps you understand your team members better as well when you know their values. Right, let me move on. I think this is the last one. Show recognition and appreciation. Again, I think Rob touched briefly on this when he was talking about employee benefits. Again, don't take the approach of one glove fits all. Because what one person values is not going to be valuable to the next person. So really going back to this, know your employees as individuals is crucial when it comes to employee benefits, so you can give people what matters to them. I have a client, for instance, who has signed up to a platform where his employees can anonymously, anonymously tap into mental health first aid. So they can have access to mental health first aid anonymously. So it's an app. You sign up to the system and every employee downloads the app and they can access a mental health first aider anonymously that they can talk to if they're struggling with any issues. And recently an employee of his said, actually, you know, if somebody offered me more money to leave just because of this service, I would not. Obviously, I don't know how much more money would do the trick, but the bottom line is he valued that service so much. So finding out ways to recognize and appreciate staff is extremely, extremely important. And I think that's the last slide that I'm going to share with you. Everything I've been talking about is about culture, really. And culture is that glue that binds an organization together. It's the hardest thing for your competitors to copy. So don't worry too much about what your competitors are doing. Focus on creating that growth, positive, productive culture where your people love coming to work to achieve outstanding results together. And you will find that it's easier for you to retain your hard-earned staff, should I say. And that's my final slide. It's something we love to say, culture eats strategy for breakfast. But I would say make creating a productive culture your strategy. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mary and Rob, for your presentations. We've got time for a couple of questions. First question, I think, is aimed at Rob, but Mary, if you'd like to contribute, please do jump in. The question is, do you agree that most recruiters have too long of a wish list?
It depends what context that's in. So if it means that recruiters want more and more information from a client, then there's never enough information really. So a good recruiter will try and obtain as much information and make sure that their client is obviously attracting themselves in the best way possible. So obviously, you know, we've got their best interests at heart. In terms of from a candidate perspective, so if you're a job seeker, then obviously there's certain criterias and things that we need to consider on behalf of the client, but we're also, again, a good recruiter will ensure that they're finding the right job for the person to have that long-term retention for both parties. So in terms of a big wish list, it's really making sure that you've got as much information from both parties, both the candidate and the clients, to ensure that you're making that right synergy, if you like. So as much information as you've got is a really good thing, in my opinion.
Do you have anything to add to that, Mary?
No, I absolutely agree, because the more information you have, the more certain you can be in terms of the placement, because that placement is crucial, isn't it? You want to get the right people on the bus in the first place, and that information helps both parties, and that's something that I know Rob does very well, to help both the client and the candidate make sure it's a right match. You want to get it right from the start. So getting that information, I think, is crucial. You can have too much, I don't think.
Thank you. We've got a question coming in about the link to the DISC and other possible testing platforms. Mary, would attendees be able to contact you through your contact details in the chat for access to these platforms?
Yes, absolutely. I've put my LinkedIn handle in the chat. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, then I can give you that information.
Okay, final question, and quick fire one, but how has home working affected engagement and building a culture, Mary?
You know, I think it's made it more glaring that micromanaging is not the way to go, because it's very difficult to micromanage when people are not in the office. So this idea of knowing your employees as individuals has become more crucial. Some people love to just get on with it. They give them the task and they run with it. Other people love to have conversations in between. So knowing your employees then helps you manage people as individuals rather than trying to manage tasks. It's still possible. To answer your question in a nutshell, staff engagement is still possible with people working at home. It just means you need to be a bit more creative now, rather than trying to do a blanket approach with everybody.
Excellent. And last words, Rob, anything to add to that?
Absolutely agree with Mary. You know, it's getting that both the start to the finish correct. There's obviously never a finish, because you've got the development of those people. But if you get the fundamentals correct, and have a great plan in process for people ongoing, then you know you're going to retain those great people. So just get everything in the right place, and you'll be fine.
Excellent. Well, as it's almost midday, I'd like to thank Mary and Rob for their excellent presentations. Some really useful, valuable content there for small businesses looking to expand, looking to retain their workforce. Thank you very much. And to our guests, finally, if you've enjoyed the event today, please do leave us a Trustpilot review. We really appreciate it. Hope you found these presentations insightful. We'll look forward to seeing you at another presentation. Thank you.